In this tutorial, we walk you through how to build a dynamic form in your app, suitable for quizzes and surveys. Before we get started, let's check the final effect of this function. Once user click the Start button, the next question will be popped out and it will show the score at the end. First, we need to set up our data model. We'll create two tables, questions and answers. Think of question as holding the actual questions, answer as holding all the possible choices. The question table will have an ID and a content field for the question text. The answer table will store the content for the options. We also have an is correct field, which is important for quizzes. Because one question can have multiple choices, we set up a one-to-many relations between these two. We also need to create an exam table. The exam table tracks each individual quiz attempt. In an attempt, user will select many options from the answer table, and accordingly, an option from the answer table can be selected multiple times in different quiz attempts. To set up this relationship, we need to create an exam answer table. This is for store the details of each attempt. Then we set up the one-to-many relations between the exam and the exam answer table. And also a one-to-many relationship between answer and exam answer table. Then we can configure the UI. We'll need to know how many times have the user attempted to finish the quiz and which question is the user answering. So we'll need to create two page variables. The exam ID will store the ID of the current quiz attempt, and the question item will track which question we're on. The types should all be integer. On the page, we use a conditional view to show different parts of the quiz. We'll have a main container and inside it, three child containers: Start, In Progress, and Results. In the Start container, we'll add a button and set its text to Start and style it however we like. Now, the important part, the button's on-click action. We'll first add a condition if the exam ID is null, meaning the user hasn't taken the quiz. We'll add a record in the exam table using the mutation action. On success, we set the exam ID page variable to the ID of the newly created record. Then we switch the view to the in-progress container. If the exam ID is not null, we directly switch to the in-progress container. The in-progress container is where the questions and answers appear. First, we adjust the layout of this container. We add a data source to get our questions from the question table, and filter this data source to show only the question where the ID matches our question item page variable. Please note that in page variable, the default value of question item should be 1, meaning that the user should start from the first question. Next, we add the text component to display the question, pulling the content from a data source, and adjust the layout. Now, the core of our multiple choice form, the select view component, will enable multiple lines to handle longer answers. We set the data source to the answer table. And filter it to show only answers related to the current question, using question equal to question ID. Then we set the style of each option inside the select view, differentiating the selected option and the unselected. The text inside each option will be from the answer table we bind to this component, so we select content in the answer table. When a user clicks an option, we create a new record in the exam answer table to record their selections. We set exam to our exam ID and exam answer to the selected options ID. On success, we increment question item by 1 to move to the next question. We use formula add. Number 1 is page variable question item, The number 2, just add 1. Then we need to add a condition to tell if it's a last question. In page data, data source, and question. Self option is null. Then it means that all of the questions has been answered. If this condition is met, we switch to the result container. If it's not, the user will continue to answer the questions. Finally, the results container. We'll add the data source to get the exam record. Filtering by our exam ID means that it will display the record of this exam. Finally, we add a text component to display the score. We will use the count function, filtering for answers where is correct is true, so it will display the score of this quiz. And there's one last question. We need to get the real-time score, but the page query will only trigger once. To do that, we need to go back to the select view, add a refresh action when the action is success. In this way, we'll get the real-time data from the data sources. Now we can see the final effect. We can first add some test data in the database. Once that's done, we can start our quiz. And it will show the final score of this exam.